You like to think your decisions are your own, that your values come from careful reflection or personal truth. But Nietzsche would laugh at that comforting illusion. You are far less original than you imagine. Most of what you call morality is a hand-me-down, a collective script whispered into your mind by a herd with 1,000 faces, now amplified by 1 billion screens. This isn't history. This is the psychological operating system you're running right now. Let's rewind to late 19th century Europe, where Nietzsche is watching the old religious order crumble. Industrialization churns out new cities and new kinds of people, rootless, anxious, desperate for a different authority. Out of this chaos, a new morality is born, not for the elevation of the exceptional, but for the preservation of the average. Herd morality, he calls it, obedience, safety-seeking, anti-exceptionalism. It tells you to fit in, blend in, stay small. Why? Because the herd survives when no one rises too far above the rest. Comfort, conformity, predictability. These aren't just social habits. They are the moral expectations etched into you by every institution you trust. The velvet prison. And before you tell yourself that was long ago, look around. Your timeline, your feeds, it's all herd morality in drag. You signal the right opinions, join the trending causes, celebrate sameness, dressed up as solidarity. This isn't activism, it's ritualized groupthink, a digital herd in real-time policing. Not just what you do, but what you dare to want. How did individuality, once the virtue of pre-industrial rebels, become a shameful liability? When did community become a subtle pact with mediocrity? You think belonging reassures you, but answer this honestly. If sameness is so safe, why do you feel so anxious in the crowd? Why do you always sense you're holding something back? Not just from the world, but from yourself. Because whether it's a village church or a Twitter mob, the price of belonging has always been the same. Your true autonomy traded for the narcotic of approval. This moral script, Nietzsche warns, is not a surface behavior. It's the deep code that makes repeated self-sabotage look rational, even ethical. Don't confuse this with simple, angry individualism. Nietzsche's not giving you a license to be an arrogant loner. He is attacking the suppression of your critical faculties, the training that teaches you to kneel when you should question. The next time you hear "be yourself," ask if it's a call to risk everything or just more velvet lining in your mental cell. So here's the twist. Opting in isn't neutral or safe. It's often an act of self-sabotage. Are you really living, or are you just managing not to be rejected? This is the psychological trap at the heart of herd morality, and it's only the beginning. Because next, you'll see exactly how this script seduces you into repeated profitable cycles of collective stupidity. The truth is, you don't just join the herd, you become addicted to sabotaging your own potential. Let's rip away the mask. Your public suffering is not always a plea for help. It is often an audition for status. Nietzsche would tell you that your patterns of self-sabotage, this cycle of tripping over your own feet while the crowd cheers, are not tragic accidents. They are performances on a stage where the rules have been inverted. If you're honest, you'll see that the digital crowd and the anxious self within you rewards displays of helplessness and outrage as if they were marks of virtue. But why? Why would you, or anyone, prefer the coziness of weakness to the terror of authentic strength? Here's the paradox Nietzsche uncovers in On the Genealogy of Morals. Resentment is the dark engine beneath herd morality. This isn't empathy or compassion. Resentment is the alchemical process by which impotence transforms itself into moral superiority. If you can't win in the real arena, you sanctify your defeat. This is the covert art of slave morality. The crowd starts to define goodness as the opposite of the master's traits, not strength, but meekness, not ambition, but passivity, not risk, but self-restraint, painted as saintliness. You inherit a society that hands you shackles and calls them medals. Now, slide this 19th century insight straight into your timeline. On social media, playing the victim is the new social capital, a badge traded for likes, attention, and influence. Outrage becomes collective theater. Outrage cycles become rituals. And soon, self-pity and displays of grievance are not private aches, but public auditions for belonging. Think about the economy of pity and outrage you exist in. Expressing authentic pain or calling out injustice is one thing, but here's the seduction. If you posture powerlessness just right, you gain automatic moral high ground, and with it, the weight of the crowd. In this system, Every self-inflicted wound earns you a standing ovation. If weakness is now rewarded, what happens to your hunger for strength? The real danger Nietzsche saw, and you now experience, is that the race to the ethical bottom becomes a contest to see who can embody the most pristine victimhood. The moral high ground is now the lowest ground because it costs you nothing, risks nothing, and invites no real change. Social media is a casino where every losing hand whispers, "Congratulations, you've never risked anything real." But before you blame the age, understand your complicity. You crave the safety of the herd precisely because you fear the truth. Nietzsche insists upon self-overcoming is violent, lonely, and never guarantees applause. So why fight against the gravity of comfort and crowd affirmation? The existential cost of this collective masquerade is your own soul. The next question is inescapable. Can you ever escape this treadmill, or will authenticity always mean isolation? That's where we're headed next. Let's get one thing straight. Your tendency to sabotage yourself isn't just a quirk of personality or some hidden flaw to be engineered away by the next trending productivity hack. What if your failure is exactly what the world wants from you? Imagine you're living in late 19th century Europe. Nietzsche's Europe. Cities are swelling with new factories. Technology is shaking the old foundations of society, and religion, once the absolute center, is leaking its power into the gutters. But something more insidious is happening. The birth of mass consciousness. Herd morality becomes the glue that keeps everything running smoothly. Now fast forward to your timeline, the 2020s. Everything's digitized, wired up and faster, but the core programming hasn't changed. You scroll, you compare, you swarm into outrage or numb consensus online. Your anxieties and defeats aren't just incidental, they're engineered for mass consumption. What Nietzsche saw as the coming age of mediocrity, you live as daily reality. The pursuit of comfort, the worship of consensus, and the subtle arts of self-suppression are not just cultural quirks. They are the operating logic of your environment. Nietzsche wrote with venom about a Europe obsessed with flattening difference, anesthetizing itself with conformity, and stamping out genuine autonomy. His world was allegedly entering a golden age, but under the surface, it was suffocating its own vitality in obedience, safety, and herd logic. Today, this logic is viral. Your FOMO, your curated vulnerabilities, your willingness to undercut your own potential, all of it is amplified by the very systems that claim to empower you. Self-help culture grooms you to be at peace with trivial satisfactions. Surveillance capitalism profits from your perpetual restlessness and performative anxiety. You are living proof that the herd hasn't just survived, it's thrived. Here's the most unsettling part. You might be applauding your own self-sabotage, disguised as self-care or belonging. Isn't it easier to retreat into the safe cocoon of someone else's opinions, someone else's outrage, someone else's easy answers? Everything around you nudges you toward being less than you could be. You've built your cage, brick by brick, out of hashtags, trends, and the soft lie of inclusion. Is it possible that the very comforts you cherish are the shackles you cannot feel? If that question makes you squirm, good, because to see the cage is only the beginning. What if the entire logic of your world is tilted toward keeping you subdued? Right now, ask yourself, how much of your apparent freedom is really just a smarter form of surrender? Because next, I'm going to rip open Nietzsche's most abused idea, the will to power, and show you why your so-called self-interest may actually be your most elaborate self-betrayal.